What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Pro Football Focus podcast here on the John Check Sports Media Network. This week, it's time to give my Week 5 picks, and we'll talk about some things that happened in Week 4, and we'll start with the Thursday night football game. Now, Andrew Luck was expected to play in this game against the Texans. A little preface, the Houston Texans have been playing awful. They don't have a quarterback. They're getting back Arian Foster for this game. Their defense hasn't been as good. They got one victory on the year, and they got destroyed by Atlanta the week before. It's this run that Atlanta's on. My goodness, they're amazing. We'll touch on them here in a bit. But so Texas coming home, face a Colts team that they can't beat. Well, Andrew Luck didn't play last week. Hasselbeck comes in, beats the Jags in overtime. Well, Hasselbeck was sick before this game, so sick he was in the hospital. They didn't think he was going to play. They thought their third stringer was going to be playing this game. Well, Hasselbeck comes and actually has a pretty good game in Houston. He actually played a really good game. So this game really wasn't that good. I didn't really pay too close attention to it. I caught mainly the highlights of it because I didn't, I wasn't going to say it's the Colts and Texans. Basically, the only thing you need to know, Ryan Mallett starts the game, starts 7 for 10, and you know something? The receivers on the Texans, man, they dropped some really bad balls in this game. Like, Mallett and Hoyer hit a couple of these guys right in the numbers, and they dropped it. It just wasn't good at all. So Mallett gets crushed in the ribs, and he comes out of the game. He's about to go back in, and Bill O'Brien says, "No, you're sitting on the bench." He didn't go back in. Brian Hoyer ends up coming in the game, and to keep the game close. Well, Hoyer didn't have that bad of a game at all. He's actually put together more scoring drives than Ryan Mallett has this year with less snaps under center, which is crazy. The offense just does not score with Ryan Mallett under center. It just does, they just don't do anything. And the defense this game really didn't do anything. I don't think J.J. Watt had a single sack. He really didn't do much in this game. The Texans defense didn't do much. Basically, this game came down to Andre Johnson had a couple of touchdowns. The guy finally did something. Because let me tell you something, Andre Johnson's been an absolute useless wide receiver to this point. He's shown his age. He's shown he's slow. He's shown he can't get open anymore. He's just not good. Frank Gore had a pretty decent game this game. Dante Moncrief, I think, only had one catch this game. He didn't have a good game at all. But Hasselbeck was a superb game manager this game. Didn't turn the ball over. Andre Johnson had a nice game. Gore had a rushing touchdown. And it comes down to the Texans are driving last series. They're down by a touchdown. They got to score. Hoyer's got all the time in the world and throws a ball up because he's getting pressured. He stands in the pocket, gets pressured, gets flushed out, throws this ball up. It wasn't even like it was a fourth down. He just threw this ball up. Awful. And he got picked off. And even Bill O'Brien's on the sideline going, "Why did he make this throw? Why did he do that?" And it was a brutal. So basically, the game sucked. The Colts won. No Andrew Luck again, but Hasselbeck has proved his value as a good backup quarterback. And the Texans got one victory on the year, and Brian Hoyer has been named the starter for the Texans. The Texans. So, yeah, they still don't have a quarterback, and they're not a very good team, and their defense is not even good. So, Colts Texans. If you missed it, you didn't miss much. Now, let's move on to the rest of the slate for Week 5. We'll start with the Cardinals at Lions. Yeah. Lions go into Seattle. And I got to give the Lions defense credit. They played a hell of a game at a place that's not easy to win. Now, the Seattle Seahawks' first half offense this year has been one of the worst offenses in the NFL. They're playing without Marshawn Lynch. Jimmy Graham, still hasn't been worked into their offensive, scheme yet. They've been basically getting it done with Kurse and Doug Baldwin and basically their defensive play. Well, they force a couple of turnovers, the Lions do, but they don't get any points out of both turnovers, except for when Russell Wilson fumbled a ball. And I forget who recovered it for the Lions, but they scored a touchdown to make it 7-13. So fast forward to the final drive of the game. The Lions are driving. Matt Stafford chucks the ball off to Calvin Johnson. Little quick route. Johnson's going towards the end zone. and he's grunting for the hit that was about to be taken by Earl Thomas. And Cam Chancellor, being just a heady, smart guy, comes up from behind and punches the ball out of Calvin Johnson's hands. Because he knew that if he hit him and made him go forward, that he was going to score. So to try to keep him from crossing the goal line and trying to keep his inertia from driving Calvin Johnson forward, he punches the ball out. That's just how smart he is. It reminds me of, I think it was Charles Tillman, who used to do that all the time on the Bears. He was amazing at it. He used to force so many. I remember watching him, man, and just how many forced fumbles that guy would make doing awesome heads up plays like that. So here's where the controversy comes in. Since the ball was fumbled in the end zone and went out, it was ruled a touchback. Ball turns over to the Seahawks. Well, KJ Wright actually bats the ball out of the end zone, admits he purposely hit the ball in the end zone because he didn't know about this intentional batting rule, to where if a defender intentionally hits the ball out of the end zone, the team that last possessed the ball, the Lions, would retain possession, and they should have got the ball back on the 6-inch line. Now, Lions fans are just going nuts. The league's out to screw us, blah, blah, blah. We should be 1-3. Now, first off, if you had any resemblance of an offense, you would have won that game because they forced more than enough turnovers to beat Seattle. More than enough turnovers to beat Seattle. They got 7 points off of one turnover. After they got a turnover, a fumble, and a fumble recovery, and I forget one more turnover they had. They got 3 takeaways in this game. Secondly, they were pressuring Russell Wilson all night, but Russell Wilson kept scrambling outside the pocket and making big throws. And their pass rush was outstanding. It was phenomenal, but they couldn't hit home on Russell Wilson. And there was a couple really bad missed sacks that they should have had. You hit home on some of those, you win that game. I'm not going to sit there and discredit their defense, because if it wasn't for their defense, they'd have got shut out. That's the reason why they even scored. But, it's a bad call. It's a bad break. But don't sit here and cry that the league is out to screw you and just you. The Packers had a Hail Mary there that got called from Golden Tate, pushed off. It should have been offensive pass interference to begin with, and the ball was in MD Jennings' hands. So, don't even sit there and cry and say that the league is out to screw you because of the Calvin Johnson rule. No. Is it a bad rule? Yeah. You had a referee right there looking at the ball. He saw KJ Wright hit the ball right out of the end zone. And it's a stupid rule. If the ball fumbles out, it should automatically, even if a defender hits it out, it should automatically still retain possession to the team, unless the defender picks it up before it comes out, rolls out the end zone, out of bounds line. If you fumble the ball out of the end zone, say you fumbled at the 1, the offensive team still retains possession, and it's just at the 1-yard line. I don't get what all of a sudden the end zone, why it would be a touchback. That's a stupid rule to begin with. But don't sit here and cry, Lions fans, when your offense was garbage and you did more than enough on defense and forced more than enough takeaways to win the game. But nope, all Lions fans, all I heard all week, the league's out to screw us, blah, blah, no. Your season was over anyways. You were 0-3 going into that game. It didn't matter. Minnesota's better than them. Arizona's better than them. Green Bay's better than them. St. Louis is better than them. Dallas is better than, even with Brandon Whedon's better than the Lions. New York is better than the Lions. There's not many teams in the NFC that are worse than the Lions that have a chance to still make the playoffs. So I don't want to hear Lions fans complain. And they're going to go 0-5 because Arizona should have beat St. Louis last week. Carson Palmer had a bad interception in the end zone. Because the Cardinals were moving the ball between the 20s. St. Louis's defense was bending, but it wasn't breaking. And they did just enough to stop Carson Palmer in that. They were the first ones to slow down Palmer's offense because they had scored 40 points in 2 straight games. So, they did just enough to not let the Cardinals score. And they made it close at the end, but the Rams came out with a big victory. But the Cardinals are going to get back on track. The Lions don't stand a chance to win this game. Their offense sucks. Joe Lombardi's a god-awful offensive coordinator. Jim Caldwell I don't like him as a coach. The other guy does. He's such a D-bag when it comes to the media, and like he doesn't even stand up for his team. You know, if I was a Lions fan, I'd be mad. He doesn't stand up for his team whatsoever. He didn't say anything. He wouldn't let any of his players talk about the call. You know, I understand he's trying to not make distractions, but that's bogus. You got to come up and say something. You got to defend your team. So, Lions are losing this game pretty handily, and the Cardinals have beat them the last 3 times that they faced one another too. So, then we move on to the Bears at Chiefs. The Bears ended up pulling up an upset win off the Raiders. I guess you can consider that an upset because the Raiders were of over 500 team. It was a big win. Cutler actually played really good, but so did Carr. He played really good as well. Amari Cooper had another nice game. But I'm going to take the Chiefs in this. The Chiefs have had a couple of bad losses in a row. I'm going to take the Chiefs to beat the Bears. The Bears still on a good team, bad defense. I think this is the week the Chiefs finally start to bounce back. So I'm taking the Chiefs. And then you got Seahawks at Bengals. Now, this is a hard one. Bengals are a perfect 4-0. They just look amazing. Andy Dalton has been a stud so far to start the year. A.J. Green has been amazing. Jeremy Hill's been awesome. You know, even with him and Giovanni Bernard getting, you know, Hill got benched and Bernard had a good game, and then Hill had another good game. But the Seahawks this year, to me, you know, I know how good they play at home. But they were on the ropes to losing to the Lions last week. You know, St. Louis managed to beat them in week 1. And they've always been that team that's a beatable team on the road. And I don't think they're as good as they were the last 2 years, the Seahawks. I really don't. So I'm going to take the Bengals at home to beat the Seahawks. Because the Seahawks, even with Cam Chancellor, they're a team that's a lot more mortal on the road than they are at home. And I just think the Bengals are playing an all-around exceptional brand of football right now. Run game, pass game, you know, defense, they've been an outstanding squad. So I'm going to take the Bengals to beat the Seahawks at home. And they're going to move to 5-0. Now, you want a lock of the week that a team is going to win. It's the Redskins at Atlanta. The Atlanta Falcons offense, my God, it's not even fair. Julio Jones is on another level right now. It's scary how good he is. Tevin Coleman's hurt. Devontae Freeman, yet again, had another 3-touchdown performance. Their defense is a lot better than it was last year. They are one of the most complete and dangerous teams in the NFL right now. Washington is 2-2. They beat the Eagles. You know, they were lucky they beat the Eagles because the Eagles, you know, the offense sucks. But they don't stand a chance to beat the Falcons. The Falcons are going to win this game easy. Now here's your crap game of the week. You got the Jags at Bucks. 2 1-3 squads. They're actually pretty evenly matched if you look at their statistics. The Jags got the 18th best offense in the NFL. The Bucks got the 3rd. The Jags got the 18th best defense. The Bucks actually have the 9th. They got the 20th best. The Jags have the 20th best passing attack. The Bucks got the 24th, and the Jags have the 18th best rushing attack, and the Bucks have the 17th. Now Doug Martin had a good game last week, and T.J. Yeldon's been pretty good too so far this year for the Jags. You got Blake Bortles up against rookie Winston, and Winston's shown that he can play, but he threw a lot of picks last week. And he didn't look good at all. I mean, he's got that gunslinger mentality. He's very unpolished. So I'm going to take the Jags to beat the Bucks at home. I think Winston, I think Winston and Bortles, this is going to be who turns the ball over less, because there's going to be a lot of turnovers in this game. So I'm going to take the Jags to beat the Bucks. It's an awful game. You got Saints at Eagles. 2 1-3 teams. Drew Brees came back last week, had a big victory over the Cowboys, and it kind of worries me that Drew Brees could barely beat a Cowboys team that has Brandon Weeden at the helm. I mean, I forget the Saints kicker, but he missed a field goal, and it ended up sending the game over to overtime, and then he threw an 80-yard, a little dump-off pass that went for 80 yards. It was the quickest overtime win ever in NFL history on Sunday night last week. And but here's the thing. The Eagles, their defense is actually not bad at all this year. That's probably their strength. Well, it is their strength. Because their offense is just so bad. Their offense is just so bad. Last week they come out. DeMarco Murray has a 30-yard run, his first touch of the game, and I don't think he had 15 yards or more, any more of the game. for the rest of the game. And he came out this week and expressed his displeasure for how he's being used in the Eagles' offense. And I don't blame him. I mean, he's making all this money, and he was used to doing what he did last year behind that Dallas line, and now all of a sudden he can't do anything. I mean, I understand the frustration. So this is a hard one, but I'm going to take the Eagles to pick up a victory over the Saints. The Saints' defense isn't that good at all. I mean, Drew Brees, he looked good last week, but the Dallas defense exactly isn't, a monster defense. And it was the first time the Saints had won at home in their last 5 tries. I think Sam Bradford, what he showed the week before when they picked up their first victory, when he had a couple of touchdowns, and, Darren Sproles and Ryan Matthews had a good game when DeMarco Murray was hurt. I think, this is going to be a week at home. I think they're going to look a little bit better. But, man, they got to protect Bradford more because that offensive line is so bad. It is so bad. Bradford's got the defensive front in his lap as soon as he hikes the ball. And they don't use DeMarco Murray the right way. They don't spread, their downfield attack is just terrible. It's not good. But I'm going to take the Eagles to win this game. And it's not going to be a great game. It's going to be a high-scoring game, I think. Probably not with how bad the Eagles' offense is, so who knows? This is a toss-up game, but I'm going to take the Eagles to win it just because they're at home. Then we got the Browns at Ravens, and this is a weird game too. The Ravens really shouldn't be 1-3. They've had some bad luck this season. They picked up a big win over, Pittsburgh. But the Browns, they made it close against the Chargers last week at home. McCown looked a little bit better. But I'm going to take the Ravens. They're at home. I don't like McCown. The Cleveland's defense is mediocre. And like I said, the Ravens have had some bad luck. So I'm going to take the Ravens to beat the... Actually, this is the Browns versus the Browns. You think about it, because the Ravens are the Browns. So I'm going to take the Ravens to beat the Browns at home. And then we got Rams at Packers. Now, people are calling this game a trap game, because St. Louis's, both their victories have been against really good defensive teams. They beat the Seahawks in week 1, and then they upset Arizona last week. Now, here's the thing. The Packers haven't lost at Lambeau in almost 2 years. They're one of the best home teams in the NFL. And Aaron Rodgers hasn't thrown a pick at Lambeau in almost 3 years. He's an unstoppable force, and he's playing at the quarterback position at a level that really hasn't been seen in the NFL ever. His accuracy, his ability in the pocket to dance, he could feel the rush coming from the backside, so for him to slide up or in the pocket or, avoid the rush. It's like he's got eyes in the back of his head. I mean, he's doing things. And then, Ty Montgomery is really emerging, in Devontae Adams' absence, and James Jones has been great, and Randall Cobb has really gotten into the offense in the last couple weeks. Starks and Lacey have done a great job. And what's been really underrated is the Packers defense. They went into Levi Stadium. I'm used to saying Candlestick. And held the 49ers. Now, mind you, not a great 49ers team, but held them to 3 points. And, Rodgers, didn't do that much. I mean, he played a solid game. But, the defense is pretty much what won that game, only allowing 3 points the entire week, or the entire game. And now they're coming home. And the Packers defense is actually pretty underrated. I mean, they got the 8th best defense in the NFL this year. And they're a really underrated squad. I mean, you look from week 12 on last year, they were a really good defensive team. When I was stressing that a lot to people, like, hey, the Packers defense is better than it is. They finally got some defensive back help. Randall has really looked really good over the last couple of weeks, and Sam Shields looked a lot better since his first week debacle, and Casey Hayward's done a lot better. And then their linebacking position is so deep. Now that Clay Matthews has been an inside linebacker for pretty much the entire season, they get so much pressure, but the biggest difference between this Packers defense over this year compared to the last couple of years is their defensive line play. Between Mike Daniels and B.J. Raji, especially B.J. Raji, getting so much pressure up the middle now and stuffing the run and forcing so much pressure up the middle, it's helping their outside rushers, and especially Clay up the middle. Just get so much more pressure on the quarterbacks, stuffing the run. Just B.J. Raji and Mike Daniels are just two unsung heroes that have literally changed the whole front, because their pass rush is stronger, their run stop is stronger, their edge rushers are better. When you could get such a rush up the middle, and get a better outside rush, and you make that quarterback throw, uncomfortably or rush his throws, that does nothing but make your defensive backs better, because it's going to put the quarterback in compromising positions. It's going to make him throw not as accurate passes, which allows your cornerbacks and safeties to get chances for picks because it's not as accurate. And it all stems from Daniels and Neal up the middle, forcing Daniels and B.J. Raji up the middle, getting so much pressure now, allowing their edge rushers to be better, allowing the run stop to be better, the more better pass rushing. And it's made Randall better. Sam Shields has been better. Clinton Dix has had a great year so far. He's played a lot of solid games. So the Packers defense has been very, very good so far to start the year. I really like what I'm seeing. I mean, they've had a lot of injuries too. Sam Barrington went down, and Nate Palmer's done a decent job filling it at inside linebacker. Peppers hasn't done as much as he did last year, but he's doing a good job. Like I said, Clay Matthews in the middle has pretty much been the difference, and Nick Perry's been able to stay healthy, and he's had a good year. And I said about the corners play has been a lot better, and then Dix has been great at the safety position, and like I said about the defensive line play, it's been very, very good. So you have a great defense to go along with this offense. Whew. So I don't think it's a trap game. I think St. Louis is going to lose this game. You just don't bet against the Packers at Lambeau Field. You just don't. So I'm going to take the Packers to win this game. Bills at Titans. Now, Titans are coming off a bye. Marcus Mariota has actually been a very, very good quarterback for, his first 3 games. He hasn't looked bad at all. I mean, he's thrown a couple of bad picks. He's shown flashes of brilliance. And he's shown, he's still a rookie. But, he's done very well. I mean, they nearly beat the Colts. They could be very well be 2-2. The Bills are 2-2. Believe it or not, the Titans have won the last 3 meetings between these two teams. But I'm going to take the Bills to beat the Titans. I like what Tyrod Taylor's doing. I think the Bills' defense, I don't think it's as good as people, made it out to be. I thought their defense would be a little bit better than they've shown this past, than they were hyped coming into the season. They got the 22nd defense in the NFL. Now, Tyrod Taylor has done an outstanding job so far. I can't believe that guy sat behind. No one even tried to trade for him, for the last couple of years when he was sitting behind Flacco in Baltimore. So I'm going to take the Bills to beat the Titans. And then we got Patriots at Cowboys. This isn't even a game to really talk about. Brandon Whedon's still under center. Still no Dez Bryant. They're getting back Greg Hardy, who, by the way, Greg Hardy, you are a jackass. This guy says he's going to come out guns a-blazing. And he's talking about Tom Brady's wife being there, and I hope he brings his friends. And then he makes this rap video about how he hits people and talk about, alluding at domestic violence stuff. How stupid are you, Greg Hardy? How stupid are you? You get suspended for this. And you come out with these comments and this music video. You are a jackass, Greg Hardy. You need to shut your mouth. I couldn't believe this idiot come out saying this stuff. So they don't stand a chance to beat the New England Patriots. The Patriots are going to destroy them. And I'm definitely probably starting Deion Lewis this week. If you're a Deion Lewis fantasy owner, I would start them because running backs have gashed the Cowboys defense the last couple of weeks. Just ask Devontae Freeman. And Mark Ingram didn't have a bad game either. And then we got Broncos at Raiders. And I don't think this game... I honestly think the Raiders can make this game close. Now, I think the Broncos are going to overwhelmingly come out on top of, just because their defense is so good. Because Aqib Talib is a ball hawk, and DeMarcus Ware is playing like he's 25 again. They're just, I like Brandon Marshall. He's a great player too, Brandon Marshall. So, I think the Broncos are going to win this game. But I think the Raiders can make this closer than people think. Because Peyton Manning... the days of thinking that he's, I remember last year I made a video when I started doing these football picks, and people were talking about how Tom Brady was done. And it was week 4, and I remember they were playing the Bengals after they got annihilated by the Chiefs. I'm like, look, Brady's going to come out this week, and they're going to have a great game because it was at Foxborough. And this is going to be the game that turns their season around because the Patriots weren't off to a great start. This is going to be a game that turns their season around, and Brady's going to come out, and from here on out, he's going to start looking like the Tom Brady of old. What happened? The boy was outstanding, and he's been on this run since then, to show people, hey, I'm not done. But just looking at Peyton Manning, I don't think that there's that's left in him. I think he is truly done. But like I said, I don't think this game is going to be a blowout, because it's not old Peyton Manning with this defense. But I think the Broncos are going to win it, but the Raiders could make this very close. Then we got the 49ers at Giants. What a terrible game. The 49ers suck. The Giants suck. All I care about in this game is fantasy implications because I have Eli Manning and I have Odell Beckham Jr. The Giants are going to win this game because Colin Kaepernick sucks. The 49ers defense sucks, even though they held the Packers in check pretty much. But, they still lost. So, I'm going to take the Giants to beat the 49ers. And then last but not least, Monday Night Football, Steelers at Chargers. Mike Vick again as that quarterback. They should have won last week. Scobie sucks, so they didn't win. They're 2-2. They're going to get the Chargers team that nearly got beat by the Browns. I don't like the Chargers this year. I don't like their defense. I think their defense is terrible. Phillip Rivers to me is kind of inconsistent. I don't like what they got. So I'm going to take the Steelers to beat the Chargers at home. I like, they just got so many weapons. Antonio Brown, Marcus Sweeten, Darius Hayward-Bay, Martavius Bryant, Le'Veon Bell, D'Angelo Williams. So I'm going to take and their defense has been better too. So I'm going to take the Steelers to beat the Chargers. So that's my Week 5 picks and everything that happened this week in the NFL. So what do you guys think? Disagree, agree, give me your picks. Don't forget to comment, subscribe, and like the video. And I hope you've been enjoying the Pro Football Podcast here on the John Check Media Network.